Operant conditioning, an informative infomercial by Kevin Fay. Operant conditioning is a type of associative learning in which behavior is strengthened if followed by a reinforcer or diminished if followed by a punisher. Basically, a person associates their own actions with a certain consequence. It differs from classical conditioning, which involves the association of different stimuli and the respondent behavior. There are two important figures who made an impact on operant conditioning that you should know about. Can you guess those people? That's right, Edward Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Edward Thorndike's work was not originally intended for operant conditioning, but he is famous for his law of effect principle, which helped lead to the development of operant conditioning. Thorndike created a puzzle experiment where he placed a cat in a box with a piece of fish outside the box. He rigged a lever for the cat to discover that would help it escape the box. What he discovered was that after successive trials, the cats would learn to press the lever due to the fish incentive. Thorndike's law, created in 1898, states that any behavior that is followed by pleasant consequences is likely to be repeated, and that any behavior followed by unpleasant consequences is likely to be stopped.
Next is B.F. Skinner, who based his work upon this principle, and eventually became known as the father of operant conditioning. He introduced operant conditioning to the world through his operant chamber, also known as the Skinner box. It was an apparatus that contained a mouse in a room-like atmosphere with a lever that the mouse could press to release a pellet of food. It also had a light and a speaker that produced stimulus for the mouse, and an electric grid bottom. This design of the Skinner box acts upon the concept of reinforcement, which is any event that increases the frequency of a preceding response.
Reinforcement in operant conditioning serves the purpose of shaping one's actions to guide them toward a desired behavior. For example, if someone were to increase my laundry habits, they could do so with a reinforcement. Every time I put 5 articles of clothing into the laundry bin, I would receive $1. So far, I've been talking about positive reinforcement, which involves the adding a desirable stimulus to receive the desired effect. Now, there's also negative reinforcement, which involves the removal of an aversive stimulus. For example, going back to the laundry situation, it could be like the removal of a bad odor. Ugh. Now remember, negative reinforcement is not the same as a punishment. I'll get back on that. Reinforcers can be separated into 2 types. Primary reinforcers are innately refreshing stimuli, such as food. The other type of reinforcer are conditioned reinforcers. Conditioned reinforcers gain reinforcing power through association with a primary reinforcer, such as money, money, money! Reinforcement can also have different effects depending on the reinforcement schedule, which is the tool used by trainers to determine the frequency and tempo of the reinforcement used. Continuous reinforcement involves treating a desired response every time it's used, such as giving me $1 every time I put away our clothing. Alright? Okay. Whew. This reinforcement is the best choice for mastering a resulting behavior, but also increases the occurrence of extinction, which is the decrease of response when reinforcement stops. There is also partial reinforcement, which is the reinforcing of a response part of the time. Where's my money? Well, with this reinforcement, learning is slower to appear, but resistance to extinction is greater than continuous reinforcement. There are 4 types of partial reinforcement: fixed ratio schedules, variable ratio schedules, fixed interval schedules, and variable interval schedules. We'll split it into ratio and interval. Interval schedules are based on reinforcement after a specific amount of time has elapsed. Fixed interval schedules reinforce a response only after a specified time has elapsed. This could mean that I would have to do laundry for, say, a week to get my money. Wow, $20. Variable interval schedules reinforce a response after an unpredictable time intervals, which could mean I'd be picking up laundry for a while. Now, remember when I talked about punishment? Punishment is any event that tends to decrease the behavior that it follows. Punishment can be both positive and negative. Going back to the laundry example, a positive punishment would be like the administration of an aversive stimulant, like more vegetables. And a negative punishment would be like the revoking of privileges. Speaking of which, where's my driver's license? Okay. Ultimately, operant conditioning is an influential learning tactic that can be applied in school, in sports, at work, or at home to help us achieve our goals. By applying operant behavior, or the behavior that produces consequences that operates on the environment, operant conditioning helps us associate with the world around us and has helped me develop better laundry habits.
Money, money, money!